Hello YouTube, my name is Elnora, aka Posh Glam Studio. Today I am doing my first sewing tutorial. I'm going to do it with Malaysian hair and which is 20, a 22, and a 24 Malaysian body wave. And I have a 18-inch left from when I had my last Peruvian body wave hair. And I'm just going to put them all in together. So, today I'm doing a side part with, some of my edges out. The parts that are braided. Well, it's coming loose, but as you can see, I've already braided down my hair. Pretty much I love this braid pattern because it'll give you more of a flatter foundation, flatter base. Don't mind the braids because I had to braid it myself. So let me turn around so you can see it. You just have some hair left out in the back. This is my part. Okay, first I love to use a net. I don't too much like the hardness because you can't really scratch your hair. But I prefer the soft net, which looks like this. The soft closed top. So what I do normally, I just put the cap on. Make sure that the piece where your part is going to be is out of the way for when you sew it down. Make sure all the hair is out the way as well. You want to bring it down low enough to where when you do sew it all the way on, you'll have enough space to cut it off, and then it all just lays down flat and soft. So I'm just about to string up a needle, which I use the curved needle. So I normally use like the little black thread. I normally have the big spool of thread, but the hair store I went to today only had, the little small spools. So I'm about to string up this needle. Normally I like long needles, the long strings, but I didn't make it too big, too long this time. But what I'm going to do is sew down the cap. So just bear with me. And I normally start more towards the front. Well, actually, let's see which way. I normally sew more going towards this way, so move this out the way. Because I normally sew in my tracks going this way. So I'm going to start this way to sew the cap down on my head, even though that was not secured. I normally bring it through a loop just to kind of lock on. And that's also how I do at the beginning of my sew-ins. Okay, I'm coming back to meet where I started sewing the cap down. And I want to just go over it just a little bit just to make sure that the cap will be secure in its place. And I'm going to double loop, tie it off, and then I'm going to cut it off. Okay, sometimes you want to be a little careful when cutting it off because sometimes you can cut your hair. So what I normally do is just pull it out like this. And I kind of just, and you don't want to cut up on the braids because the way that it's so stretchy, it'll snap back, and if you cut up on the braid, then it's definitely going to fly on back. So you want to give it enough space to be able to pop back. And I'm going to just pull it off like that. And then right here where the part is, you know, just kind of just split it. Just got to make sure you don't grab any of your hair, because if you cut that, you pretty much going to cut up a big chunk of it. So just go cut off the little excess. Cut off this a little bit. But you want to make sure you do not cut the thread, because that's just going to mess everything up. Just cut off all the excess just to make sure it won't be no okay. So now you know my net is on. So now it's time to do the sewing. Okay, I'm about to sew in the 24-inch. This is the Malaysian body wave. I'm a hairstylist, and yes, I sell hair, Poshy hair, which, you know, it feels so good, and it's just so light, flowy. You know, whenever, you know, y'all like that hair that blows in the wind. So if you ever need some hair, hit me up. But right now I'm about to take the 24-inch, and what I normally do is try to bring it like above each ear for the first track, and I try to lay it up underneath the bottom of the hair, just to give it, just say you do decide to pull it up, you wouldn't see the braids at all. Even if you do have some hair out, of course you're not going to see the braids. But some people, you know, sometimes I don't leave hair out, but I still want to sew up under the braid, so that it'll give me more of a, if I do want to pull up into a low ponytail, you won't see the braids sticking out everywhere. So, but I string up at least about 10 long needles, so that I wouldn't have to keep cutting and restringing up the needles, and that's just gonna make your sewing take forever and a day. So therefore I string up at least 10 long needles so I can just keep it moving. So I'm about to go ahead and do my first. And everybody's saying weird, but I like to kind of stick it through the weft first, and then I'm going to loop it back again, and then I'm going to tie it off. But before I tie it off, I know people tie it off different, but I normally tie it like this. And then, well, I can't tell you how I cut it off yet, but I know most people cut it off, then tie it, then cut it off. But that just takes. This is how I tie it off. I bring it through a loop, and then I kind of bring it back through, and I just pull it out, and it all secures. I normally do it 2 times, and then I cut it off. I know some people cut it like this and tie it, but I don't have to do that in my method, in my certain technique that I do. So as you can see, I love the look of this 24-inch. Comes down to about right here. You know, if it's bone straight. And I love the wave. Nice wave. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sew in all of the 24. But pretty much it's just gonna all be coming this way. I know some people like to sew it all the way up, which I do that, but it depends on like when I get to the shorter length, because you don't want to waste all of your hair trying to put it all the way up when you should be putting it all in the back just to have the fullness and length in the back. I'm done with the 24 inch, as you can see. I love it. I love it. I love it because it's nice. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's a nice length that I can manage. So what I've done is fill in all the bottom area of my hair. And then what I did was bring a 22 inch, which is the next inch that I'm going to use. I brought it from the top of the side piece all the way to about right here. So in between these 2 points, I'm going to fill it in with the 22 inch. So that by the time I get up here, all the shorter length will be, you know, to make it look more of a fuller look at the top. And so, like I said earlier, so you won't have to be wasting all of your money. But when I do start with the 20 inch, I'm going to be bringing it from point to point. And that's how I do my sewing. Normally I bring it from point to point, give it more of like an invisible part look, more towards the inside of the braids, going towards the parts. And then I end up putting like a track to meet all the way around here, just to give it more of a flat look over the braids. I mean, over the tracks. Excuse me. But what I'm going to do now is just fill it on in, and I will show y'all the ending results. So right now it's about to be the 22 inch, which is going to be from this point to this point, filling on in, and then it'll be the 20 inch, which I guess I'll bring it to where I just use up all the hair, and then whichever I don't use, or if I use it or not, I'm just going to fill it in with the Peruvian 18 inch body wave.